you don't want to always have to be putting out fires, right? And I'll tell this to everybody, right? If your business isn't growing, it's dying. You just don't know it. Even if the business isn't doing as well as it should be, it doesn't mean it doesn't have a value. They don't address that early on, especially if they're selling their business themselves. Like if it's for sale by owner, right? Like most of the guys don't see that. Business broker knows that those are snags, right? So they're going to address that sooner than later, right? Because he's been through this. So he already knows, "Oh, this is what happens." And this is normally where a business transfer gets sticky. It's the third parties, it's the landlords, it's the franchisors, it's the leasing companies or other people that have interests in the enterprise that are outside of the buyer and seller. So if you're thinking about selling your business right now, those are the people to go to first. So a financial acquirer probably isn't the guy that's going to buy your business, right? You want a strategic acquirer to buy your business because he, even though he might not say it to you, he knows what the value is in speed to market. So if you know why you want to do it, then you can figure out how to do it.
Lauren's still here and welcome back to High Intensity Business, your one-stop shop for helping you grow your strength training business and fuel your passion for high intensity strength training. Today, I am joined by Michael Zarrillo. Michael Zarrillo is a veteran fitness industry operator, investor, and business broker with decades of experience buying, building, and selling fitness businesses. He's been an owner and part in everything from boutique studios to 86,000 square foot multi-purpose facilities, work with brands like Planet Fitness, Gold's Gym, YouFit, and City Fitness. Beyond operations, Michael has extensive experience brokering fitness business sales. As a former member of the National Association of Business Brokers and the Business Transfer Network, he specializes in preparing fitness businesses for sale, value them correctly, and guiding owners through successful exits, making him uniquely qualified to talk about how to sell your strength training business. Is that accurate, Mike?
That's accurate,
Good.
correct?
Good. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for making the time. I really enjoy speaking with you always. And I'm excited to talk to you about, helping our colleagues to build to sell. And I know that I've been in some conversations recently with people that are looking to sell in the shorter term, medium term. So I think this could be really useful for them as well. So where would you like to start?
I guess I'd like to start with uh, my unique experience. I've bought them. I bought fitness centers. I've sold fitness centers, and I've been a third party to transactions, meaning with my finance company, we've had um, leases in place where people wanted to sell their business. And this is normally where a business transfer gets sticky. It's the third parties, it's the landlords, it's the franchisors, it's the leasing companies or other people that have interests in the enterprise that are outside of the buyer and seller. So if you're thinking about selling your business right now, those are the people to go to first, right? Because someone that you think or is qualified to do business with you, in your opinion, might not be qualified as far as your landlord is concerned, might not be qualified as far as your leasing company is concerned. They might not have the same credit worthiness that you did. They might not qualify as far as your franchisor is concerned. So you want to get those people in line first before you go out to the marketplace. That would just be frustrating. There's a lot of parties to a business transaction. So you want to look at your lease, your property lease, and see what the assignment clause is, right? So and get your landlord, ready to participate in the transaction. Find out what he wants currently for credit worthiness of a tenant. right? Check your lease. Make sure, if you've got a 10-year lease or a 5-year lease, or you might only have 2 years left or 3 years left. And if you were willing to hold the paper on your business for 5 years, you really can't do that because you can only guarantee that they could be there for 3 years.
Yeah.
So all those little nuances have to be addressed, first. As far as like from my perspective, if I'm putting my leasing business hat on, and you're a current client and you've been making your payments and you've got a good credit history, I don't want to disturb you from selling your business, but I don't want you to hand me a guy that's got a bad credit history, or maybe he doesn't have the same experience that you have in the industry. So I don't have the same faith in him to take over your payment stream. So, what happens in that scenario, right? Or your landlord scenario.
Yeah.
I can tell you what happens. They don't do it, you know?
Right, 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 right.
Or what they'll do is they won't relieve you of your responsibilities of your personal guarantee. So now you're selling your business, you're relinquishing control, and the new guy taking it, you're co-signing for him on your property lease and on your equipment lease. So nothing goes away. Your liabilities don't go away. So, you've got that issue to address, and you want to address that early, because that could be a real deal breaker. Just forget about finding someone that wants to buy your strength business. They have to qualify for your landlord, for your lender, for your franchisor. Uh, and the franchisor thing is there's other tactics out there to be able to handle them. And that's a more in-depth thing, and I'm happy to discuss that with if that time ever comes. But mostly with this business, they're owner operators, right? So they're going to want to sell to another owner operator. And that guy has got to have the qualifications to assign your property lease and to assign your equipment lease. And that's something that a lot of times people don't address that early on, especially if they're selling their business themselves. Like if it's for sale by owner, right? Like most of the guys don't see that. An experienced business broker knows that those are snags, right? So they're going to address that sooner than later, right? Because he's been through this. So he already knows, this is what happens. So a broker will probably address that earlier. And a broker's fee, it's either going to be a flat fee or a percentage of the valuation or the sale price of the business, not the valuation, because those could be different too. And usually that's probably 10%. So if you sell your business, 600,000, broker's going to take 60, but the broker he's going to advertise your business. He's going to qualify the owners. He's going to deal with your landlord. He's going to deal with your leasing company. He's going to really do a lot. But it's hard to get your mind around, he's taking 10%.
Yeah, but he's going to add a lot of value in the process.
But he's supposed to add
Or
a lot
she.
of value. Or she,
Yes.
right. They're supposed to add a lot of value. And in ways that people don't really see. But now we're going over them, so maybe they might, it's a lot more reasonable. And that fee is negotiable, for the most part, right? Like it's standard, 10% is standard for deals less than less than $1 million. When the deals go over $1 million, they get into what's called like a Lehman formula, which is a scale. It's like 6% of the first million, 5% of the second million, 4% of the third million, and it just teeters off like that.
I'm sure we have to worry about that too much in our space.
No, not in this.
Okay, there might be a few.
There might be,
It's worth saying, for those, so just those are not aware, Mike is in both of the HIB communities. So what really, I mean, I kind of mentioned it in the intro, but he understands the strength training industry and the small strength training business. So very uniquely qualified to be talking about this. So I just wanted to, I don't think I necessarily highlighted that well in the intro, but I think that's really important to say. Um,
Oh, I'm 100%. I'm an enthusiast. It's the way I train.
right,
It's
you're
the way I
passionate
exercise.
about this about high intensity training, aren't you? So
Oh yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
mean, my wife goes. She's not a high intensity strength trainer. I do it. I've been doing it a long time, and I understand it. Um, and I think they've got high value. And it's funny, um, because even depending on like to value your business or the way, like, let me explain the way I acquire a business, because I try to make it so it's a joint, that we're working together. We're not adversarial as a buyer and seller. So sometimes, or a lot of the times, what I'll do is I'll say, um, let's come to a valuation structure that we can both agree on. Can we agree that your business is worth 5 times EBITDA,
right.
right? Can we agree that it's whatever that is? Can we agree to that
You
first?
have to have the
If
same
we
measure. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
is that a
yeah.
fair way to do it? And usually everyone will say, yeah, because it is a fair way to do it. I'll say, okay, so now let's collect the data that will illustrate what your EBITDA is, right? So if we're going to agree to 5 times EBITDA, and we come to the actualization that you're actually making $300,000 a year. So now that business, if we're saying 5 times, is worth $1.5 million. And is that
Yeah.
fair? And it, because you don't want to be adversarial with people, because you need them post sale, right?
Right.
You're going to want to, and just for good karma, right? People always say, oh, businesses, those are people that are shitty business people, because they
I
don't
agree.
understand. It doesn't go away, right? Like, you're going to want to know, like, there's nuances to every business. And, a 2-week training thing or a 3-week training thing is not going to explain all of those nuances. And you're going to have questions, and you're going to want the business owner that sold you the business to answer the phone when you call, right? You're going to want his help. You're going to want oh, like, I got to turn the cold water off. Where's that? You're right. Or something simple or something complex. You're going to want them to be happy to see your telephone number when you call. Oh, yeah, I want to help the guy.
That's so interesting. Just a quick question. Five times EBITDA, that sounds pretty optimistic. I thought it'd be more like three or four.
It normally is. Yeah.
Okay.
But you make that agreement prior. Like, I have an agreement, with a guy that I sell, um, my businesses to, um, who buys in the fitness business. So if I pay 3, he pays 5 from me, because he knows I already did all my homework,
You did the
right?
due
My
diligence, right?
my
Yeah, yeah.
businesses are stable. My businesses are replicatable. My businesses is a launching pad for whatever he wants to do in that market or in that industry, right? In that genre, whether it be a boutique studio group or an 86,000 square foot monster, whatever it is, like, he knows that I'm solid, right? So he's done business with me before. He will continue to do business with me when I build, because everything I do, I build to sell. I open to sell. I start to sell. Like, so they know. So I know in my head, my this investment group is there. They got very deep pockets. So if I buy a 10 club chain and turn it around and it's tracking a certain way, I know who I'm selling it to. So I never get involved with something, that I know I can't get out of. So, that's on a personal note, right?
Yeah.
But as far as like the guys here, a lot of enthusiasts, a lot of, highly qualified technicians, and they get into a business and they might go, oh, like, or they just want to sell it. They want to move, they want to relocate, their kids are gone, whatever it is. And even if the business isn't doing as well as it should be, it doesn't mean it doesn't have a value. There are other um, things that add value. The fact that you've got a sign up, you've been through the permitting process, you've been through the zoning process, you've been through all of the aggravation of opening up your studio, right? You found local contractors to do the work. You've paid for the architectural and the engineering. All those sunk costs have a value, and they have a value, um, especially to someone that is a strategic acquirer, right? Someone that wants to be in your trade area. Maybe yours is the first one that they buy, but they want to open up two more. So now they've got three in a much shorter time period. Like, that's what I do, right? Like, if I
What I'm
want to
hearing
go,
is it's always the decisions are always around speed and it's just saving
yeah,
time, saving money. It's all about that in terms of why they
it's
might pay
about
more
building
for it.
value, right?
Right,
Like
right,
that.
right.
Look at the
Yeah.
things that add value, and saving time, which is a resource, adds value. Saving money adds
Yeah.
value, like all of those things. So, even if your business is breaking even, right? And you're just, you're an employee basically, and you think, like, you don't think it's got that much value because everything you hear is, you know, earnings. Like, you don't have a business if you can't step away from it and, travel for 2 weeks, and you don't have a business, right? You're an employee. But, that's a yes and no
Sure.
thing.
Yeah. It sounds like it's on like a continuum, kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, depending on, so so a financial acquirer probably isn't the guy that's going to buy your business, right? You want a strategic acquirer to buy your business, because he, even though he might not say it to you, he knows what the value is in speed to market.
The problem,
Right?
though, what do you think about this? The problem, though, is in our space, it being so niche, it's probably quite difficult to find a strategic buyer. Well, except for yourself,
Mhm.
but there's not that many out there. Or am I limited in the
Like,
way I think?
until you put the business up for sale, you don't know.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I'm in Paradise Valley, Arizona. So Scottsdale's right next to me. Like, it's warm weather. Right? It's nice year round. Or Southern
Beautiful.
California. So you've got people that want to maybe get out of Illinois, right? They want to get out of the Chicago area. They want to get out of New England. They want to get out of, they want to come south of the snow belt, right? They want to semi-retire from whatever they're doing now, right? They did their 25 years or their 20 years somewhere, and they've got their gold watch and they've got their pension, and, they own their home outright, and they're fitness enthusiasts, right? You could teach people these words. It's not hard, right? It's,
Yeah.
it's, it's not a hard business to operate. It's an easy business to
Yeah.
operate.
Just on that though, I do find when I speak to a lot of people, outside of high intensity training, who maybe they join one of our groups and they're like, "This is interesting," but maybe they have an interest in fitness, an interest in business, or both. And then when they start to learn about the business model, which can happen quite rapidly, they're like, "This makes a lot of sense." And so, yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, it doesn't take too long to understand. It takes a long time to get to like that, that Jedi level of interest in
Right.
high intensity training. That's like another level. But yeah, otherwise,
Yeah.
it's quite easy
And
to understand. Yeah.
and the other value is, if you're selling a business in this genre, quite honestly, like, you're the high intensity business network adds a lot of value, right? Because now these people are buying a business, they've got the seller to shepherd them, but they also have this whole other community to get to share information from, to get information, that a lot of the industries, they don't this type of community and community support in a business that they want to get to. I don't know if there's a Pilates owners group or a bar owner, when I say bar, I'm talking bar method,
Possibly.
own
Yeah.
group, cycling group, right? Is there of owners that are independent operators that share information with each other? I don't know of one. I'm pretty, waist deep in fitness and
They normally
health.
have their own like local private community, no? Or,
Not that I
like
know of.
franchises will, right? They'll have,
Maybe the franchise
yeah, yeah.
groups, right?
They're not
Right. And
independent operators. Yeah, I see
yeah,
what you're saying. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so, and they have such, vast, right? They're national, international, right? And some things that might be going on that you might be aware of in France and Austria or the Netherlands,
Yeah.
can transfer to American businesses, right? Like there's a cycle to it. Like, even if you look right now in the US, they're building all of these, I call them, well, they're bathhouses, right? They're called different things. Korea, Japan, Russia,
Yeah, like
you know,
Turkish bath is what I'm thinking when you say that.
exactly. But they're building those things here in the US, like
Really?
going in New York, in Los Angeles, like they're these third spaces. And it kind of makes me laugh because I look at these recovery centers,
Right.
uh, what I call them, and I'm thinking to myself, most of these people don't do anything to recover from. Like, even their exercise isn't real exercise; it's an activity, right? They're not
Right,
going to
right.
failure. They're not punishing themselves. These aren't, athletes that are leaving it all out there on the field and need to recover. It's a dentist. He just, someone just counted to 10 for him for the past hour, and he thinks he needs, a cold plunge and red light therapy. You know, but it's a whole industry.
Okay.
So I think that in this space, um, it right now it's fragmented, but it's going to grow, and you're going to get, I think there should be more multi-studio operators than there are, and
Yeah.
I think the guys and the gals can do that through acquisition, and then it's just a matter of rebranding and then doing another one or two in those marketplaces, so they get an economy of scale. And there's a lot of interest. Like I said, my finance business, we like, I like this industry. So there's money out there if experienced operators want to grow their business. There's support there for that. Um, and I think a lot of times in a specialized industry like this, most likely someone who will buy your business is already a client, a relative of a client, meaning a nephew or a niece or a son or a daughter, that someone that's got some wherewithal, deep enough pockets, will, and the faith in their relative to acquire the business that they've been going to. That there's that. Um, as well as, a key employee, right? Like, um, you could sell your business to one of your trainers, and now it might not be to your best trainer because he might not be a good operator. He might be a great technician, but not going to be a great owner, right? So
Got it.
you might sell your gym to Mindy, who's going to be a great owner, and Josh is going to continue on being a great trainer. There's different, that whole myth, right? That whole Michael Gerber, you have to
Yeah.
work, on your business rather than in your business. So if you're an existing owner right now and you look at your staff and you think, who would I rely on to take this over? And you groom them, you talk to them, and you get them prepared. And um, who knows, maybe you start a profit sharing program, because, not every transfer happens immediate, right? You might want to plan this out over the course of a year or 18 months or 2 years. Your kids are graduating, your
Yeah.
wife to move closer to her family, whatever, whatever the transition is going to
So
be.
this is, sorry to interrupt. I think this is a good moment to. You wrote this wonderful article called "Exit Stage Right," an updated version on your LinkedIn, which I shared in our group, and I read it ahead of this. I thought this is really useful, and I broke it down into bullets. And what we're talking about now, I feel like is number one, right? It's like the objectives, like why are you selling? What is it that you want? Which is ultimately going to decide a lot of the other factors, right? Like how you're going to
The
structure the
structure.
deal. So I'm just curious, like, I know you're talking about that right now, but let's keep going on that. And then maybe we can check off the other points as we go that you mentioned that
Absolutely. That'd be
article to
great.
give. Yeah. So go on, please continue. And let's talk more about like how we figure out, the outcome we want from this and then
Mhm.
kind of go from there. Yeah.
Because even maybe you don't want to do an outright sale and you trigger the tax implications of that. Maybe your
Yeah.
the employee has an earn in and earn out period. So if you want to retire or you want to have an income stream going forward, that's built into the transaction. So maybe you don't get a chunk of money up front, but you get, a $5,000 a month or $10,000 a month payment from now until it's paid off. And that, who knows how long that could be? Is that 5 years? Is that 7 years? It's always a water balloon, right? If you get money here, you lose money here. If you want more money here, you take less. And you can structure these types of transfers, um, and you wouldn't have to be bothered with your landlord or lenders, right? Because you're not walking away. You're just changing the dynamic of how your business operates, but you're not really selling it. You're transferring it slowly. And that's a discussion you would want to have with your accountant and your attorney on how to properly protect yourself, but it's not difficult. Like
Yeah.
none of it's difficult. You just haven't done it before, right? Like you got to look at it like you're a new trainee in the business, right? Like the workouts aren't difficult. You just have to tell the guy how to breathe, right? Relax your shoulders, relax your jaw. Don't do this. You know what I mean? Like, so it's the same types of cues, but different. Right? So you have to go somewhere else for the expertise. So you don't tweak your back, you don't hurt your shoulder, your elbow, right? Whatever it is, you relieve those opportunities for discomfort or injury by having other professionals help you. So if you know why you want to do it, then you can figure out how to do it. And I think that's really the best thing that people are going to get out of this podcast is if,
Yeah.
and because you've got two people that they're aligned, right? You've got someone that wants your business and you've got you who want to exit your business. And exit is a big word, right? Is it sell your business? Is it transfer your business? Is it merge your business? There's a lot of different
Yeah.
things
I know.
you could do. And hmm, I think within this group, you'll find that marketplace, right? You'll find maybe a bigger, a franchisor wants to come into your market and he'll pay more for your business than, somebody that's a retiring teacher, right? Because he knows the
Right.
value of it or should know the value of it and the speed to market and those things. Um, because it costs money to open up a new studio, right? You've got to buy equipment. You've got to do the build out. You've got to feed it while you burn cash because your membership isn't growing as fast as you thought. all of those things valuable. And um, sometimes you're a good tech, right? You're a good trainer, but you might not be great at having the conversations or know what conversations to have for a strategic acquirer. And that's why you would have, a broker or a pinch hitter come in and represent you. And a broker's probably the best thing to do. Like even in that article, it's funny. I forgot about a lot of the things. Attorneys blow up deals all the time. They get their egos involved, and they're trying to add a lot of value to your conversation with the other people, and it's acrimonious, and it doesn't get it does it doesn't move the deal forward. It just causes arguments, which they like to do. That's why they did that. That's why they got into that business, right? They like to be contrary. They want to be proven right, and sometimes, you know my grandfather used to tell me, Michael, lose the argument, win the sale, right? Like you don't have to be right. Lose the argument, win the sale, because ultimately that's what we're doing here. We're trying to sell, we're trying to transfer, we're trying to change the circumstances. So, you don't have to prove that you're the smartest guy in the room. You have to work with people. You have to show that you're a good partner. And that's the most important thing when you want to transfer your business. You want to get a good methodology on how you value the business, because the person that you're selling the business to, he's got a whole camp that is telling him not to buy a business. He might have a wife that's telling him, she might have a husband that's telling her, you don't want to do this. Why disrupt the apple cart? And, this doesn't seem right. And that doesn't seem right. And I had a very large deal that I was involved with that I really wanted to do. I wanted this deal. I wanted this company. And it was the last week, and I was flying out to sign the documents, and they just changed the term in the last week. And the dollar amount, was arbitrary, but it just left such a bad taste in my mouth that I couldn't go through with it. I wanted it. I really wanted it, but they changed the terms like I said, in the last week, and I just couldn't do it, because then if something else happened in the future, I already had the symbolic thing to know that I shouldn't have done it. Right. Like you
Right.
already, and And nothing stings worse than that. Nothing stings worse than knowing you shouldn't have did it and you did it anyway. And now you have more problems.
Right. Have you got a, without going into any details, have you got a list of experiences where that's happened, where you've got, oh yeah, you're sure, we'll do it anyway. And then it's cost you, does that happen a lot? Or
Oh
your
God. Yeah,
experience?
I'm sure it has happened to me. I
You've
repress
erased it.
memories, but honestly,
Yeah, fair
like
enough.
I don't like to remember the things where I kicked myself in the ass.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So yes, but
Good learning opportunities. Yeah.
yeah, that's a nice way to put it. It's
Just quickly on what you said, sorry, earlier, just to kind of like, add to what you were saying about objectives, like when you're thinking about selling, it's kind of listening to you as like, why am I selling, and when am I selling?
and
Or
how,
what?
right. It's
And it's
it's
like,
like all the things, the what, why, how, when,
right.
they all they all interrelate. And if you have your mind around it early enough, you don't screw up your own deal, right? Because someone might want it earlier than later, right? They want the cash flow, they want the tax write-off, they've got an exchange, they've got to get money off their books or whatever it is. Their
Right.
timeline might not align with yours if you don't know what yours is going in.
Yes. I just think it's just so important to like underscore this, because I think that a lot of people aren't doing this hard thinking. And it's
Mhm.
like, it's so important, because how do you know what you're going to try and structure or negotiate if you don't even know what you really want and need? Um, so moving on from here, the next thing you mentioned was like understanding this from the article, strengths and weaknesses of your business, like kind of like auditing where you're at. So you talked
Mhm.
about unique position. Do you want to elaborate on that? Do you
Yeah,
remember?
you might have an underlying, a great lease, right? You might be in a good sector, a good zone, a good space, like certain uh, big retailers, like a supermarket, uh, they may have restrictions in their, or retailer might have restrictions in their clauses that don't allow fitness within 500 feet of where they are. But you might have been in there before this bigger retailer took the place. So now no other fitness can get in there. So you're the only, you're the sole operator, not based on you, but based on this retailer that has that restrictive clause in their lease that gives you a very high value position. So
That's
you
so interesting because it's like, how do you, because that's so valuable. That is so valuable, right? That
very
it could
valuable.
add a lot to the sale value. So how does one, do you have like, I'm sure you've got SOPs for this, Mike. But I mean, you must go through a whole list of things. I guess AI might be useful for this too, in order to make sure you leave no stone unturned in terms of
Mhm.
what might help with your unique position.
That's
Yeah.
hopefully that's the value of your broker. And there's a lot of clowns out there that are brokers. Don't,
Right. Yeah.
they're,
Okay.
if
So,
a, and that's why you don't sign a long-term deal with them, or most of them will work without an exclusive, but now they're all things. Now you watch this podcast and you know to ask the broker or talk to the broker. And if that's not something that was even on his radar or her radar, you talk to another broker, right?
got
Because
it.
you have to look. And I've always basically sold my own businesses. So I've always tried to position them and evaluate them to get the absolute highest dollar. And sometimes that is what has done it, right? Like nobody else can come in here. You can't, you're in this very nice center with all these other, you know, quality retailers, and nobody else can come in here. So you've got you've got that carve out. Now, now your business is probably worth, you know, 8x, not 3x, not 5x, right? Because
Wow.
you're here, and you know, the drugstore that came in normally doesn't allow this, but they came in after you were there, and you've got a 10-year lease with 2 5-year options. So you could be there or have fitness be in that space for the next 20 years. And you know that drugstore is going to be a draw for the next 20 years. So it just works out. So you've got to be able to find that hidden value that you might have that you don't realize, but an experienced guy, an experienced gal, broker will uncover, because it's in their best interest, because they get 10%.
Right.
So
Yeah.
they got to earn it.
You reminded me. I did a podcast this week actually, which will be out by now. By the time people are listening to this, with Dr. Ben Bokikio, and he was talking about GLP-1s because I've not really done any content on GLP-1s, and he's saying how valuable it could be to start building relationships with your local pharmacy, drugstore, because there's loads of people going in to collect their drug of choice, their
Right.
GLP-1 drug of choice, which they're going to absolutely need, as you know, to strength train with that.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's just a side note. Just you got me thinking about that. So, yeah, unique positioning. This is really interesting, and the obvious one that I guess many of our colleagues can benefit from is the fact that they are quite strongly differentiated from the rest of the fitness market as well.
100%.
Yeah, yeah. So long as they, yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
No. 100. Yeah. Their unique market position is what they do. And it just so happens for the next now and for the next foreseeable future, resistance training is only going to gain in popularity. It's talked about on, all the big podcasts, your Peter Attia, your Andrew Hubermans, your, all the anti-aging podcasts, Gabrielle Leon, it talks, to her, about muscle centric medicine. Like, it is now the thing, uh, to, to be involved in. So now, if you're thinking about selling or whatever, like, start preparing, get your tax returns in order, get your forecast in order. You want to have a very solid package for someone to look at. Make sure that your branding is on point. Your fonts are all the same. You've got a good uh, web presence, internet presence. You've got good
What does that mean?
reviews.
Just having a good website? I think you said it in the
Yeah,
article,
having,
easy to
but yeah,
navigate.
having your,
Yeah, yeah.
you make sure there's congruency
Okay.
across, make sure there's congruency. Make sure that you've got um, good reviews. You've got, your, you're listed with, where your address is, that all that stuff is correct. There's all of the basics, the things, because you're
Yeah.
operating now, you're not paying much attention to a lot of the other stuff,
Yeah,
but
like SEO hygiene, which isn't
exactly,
super
other
hard.
people, when they're going to look at
Yeah.
it, they're going to Google you, right? They're going to
Yeah. Yeah.
investigate. They're going to want to see what your reviews are. They're going to want to see what your authenticity
Yeah.
is in that market.
Just on that, for those that aren't aware, I did a podcast recently with Connie Holan on SEO. We were talking about AI optimization. It's the same. It's how SEO is essentially evolving. And so if you're interested in getting your SEO improved, whether it's for sale or just to improve your business, then go and check that one out. It was, I think, 1 or 2 episodes ago. You can find it on any channel that HIB is present. Sorry, I cut you off there, Mike. I just want to mention that. Yeah. Yeah. Just on unique positioning, or not unique position, but just strengths and weaknesses. You mentioned about the importance of parking and signage and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
all those
Yeah.
things. There may be other locations someone can go to, but your location, you've got, very visible signage. You've got, substantial parking. You've got all the good things that are valuable you have there. So, even though, like I said, the water balloon, you may lack in some places, but it excels in somewhere else. And someone's optimistic, and, a new broom sweeps best, and they want to come in, and they think, you've got, a potential franchisee to even a competitor, um, will, be a good, acquirer, because they know it'll make a great location for a franchise. You never know um, what the scenario is going to be. And this is, and basically I'm almost even targeting this conversation to the mediocre operator, right?
Yeah, sure. I appreciate it.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and, because the, the guy who's doing real well, it's a different, it's a, it's a different transition, right? Because they know what their financial forecast is. They could show somebody how much money they're going to make, um, with some type of, security. That person will go and probably get a second mortgage on their house, and want to buy it faster, and or go to the bank, and the bank will lend on that deal, and you don't have to worry about um, being the bank on that transaction, because, most of the time when you sell your business, you're the bank. You're going to take X number of dollars down, and then you're going to finance the rest, and you're going to hold that note. And there's a secondary market for business notes. There is, but they discount them. So someone owes you $200,000, Mr. Smith will buy that $200,000 note for $120,000 or $150,000 today, and then they will take the payments in. Like there's a lot of different
Got it.
things
Yeah.
that you can do. Um, but but I think, for the sake of this conversation, if someone is thinking about selling their business, they've got to prepare it, right? Look at, have other people come in and look at it, and, should we update the paint? Should we make sure all the equipment is, uniform, right? Like, you might have made different acquisitions over the years. So some of this equipment is white, some of this equipment is gray, some of this equipment is black. But, maybe if it was all black, now it looks different to an acquirer. It's got an added value. It doesn't look like, you bought this stuff from a flea market.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, thank you. One of the things you mentioned as well is exclusive programming, which I guess I don't know if that was related to what we were saying about, the fact that most of us are operating like one-on-one strength training focus in our business. But also what this made me think of is like, you probably want to have systems and processes for everything in the business as well, right? I mean, that's probably pretty important, right? To get everything right.
Because someone that's buying it, like, there's already unknowns. So your job is to remove all of their perceived barriers, like their fears, right? And they have to know this style of exercise. They have to believe in this style of exercise, right? They have to, you want them of the same, let's call it the same religion, right?
Do you think that's important? Like it's from a strategic acquirer or?
Hey,
I mean, for the integrity of the business, I get what you're saying, but to get someone to buy it, I'm just looking at it from that perspective.
Well, because you want them to succeed, right? The existing clients are used to a certain style of exercise. You come in and tell them, we're going to do group fitness now, or, you start doing other
right.
Right. You want them to do what works. Like this is an evidence-based, effective, efficient way to exercise, and period. And I think that's the value. That's the added value.
I think what I'm trying to say is, do they have to come in with that view already, or can you indoctrinate them in the process or educate them in the process? I think
you could educate them in the process. I think people of a certain intelligence will understand this immediately. And if they don't, right, that might be a red flag anyway, right?
Sure.
So I think that this genre of exercise is appealing to a certain clientele, and you want to be of that clientele to sell and to offer it to the other clientele. Like goes together, right? You want to have a lot of mirrors. So if this is your industry and this is what you chose to do, you want to sell it to someone that believes in it as well, because you're just handing the torch, right? It's a baton. You can't change the baton. It's not a baton and then it's a chicken, right? It's you gotta, the business is difficult enough. You want the transition to be elegant, and you can't do that if they want to change the methodology. Unless they're, they want to do something completely different and they're writing you a check to go get lost. And then what do you care what they do with it? That's true. That's fine too, right? If they want to come in, they want to buy your business because they've got your location, they've got existing zoning, they've got all this other stuff, and they don't care. That's fine. But then they've got to write you one check to go get lost, right?
Yeah.
And that's
what bad for all those clients though, Mike. I love the strength.
Sell them to somebody else.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. I've done that.
You sell this book of clients to someone else and
somebody else. Right? We sold the membership base to somebody else, and they earned out. They, by month 5, month 6, all that revenue was mine. And that's how that goes. So
I've seen that being done in our space actually. Yeah. Okay. All right. That's great. Thank you. Yeah. And just it's worth also saying this. I'll link it in the show notes. In fact, and we'll put it in the video description. There's another podcast I did with Luke Carlson at Discover Strength on this exact topic. And we probably go into more detail there on systems and processes, which I think there's other things I want to cover with you, Mike, and I don't want to spend too much time on that. And I think we've addressed it. Oh yeah, you mentioned this in the article about reviewing all expenses and vendor relationships to get the very best deals. Because I love the way you put it, like every dollar saved could be like 3 to 5x. Right. focused on the multiple. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
You'll speak on
And
that. Yeah.
it's house cleaning that people, they don't do when they're operating, right? But if they can negotiate their paper products down, they find different vendors, like every dollar that they save is worth 3, 5 times that when they sell. So those, that's another, you know, uh, way to add value to your business. And a lot of people, people just fall into a rut when they're operating the same business 3 years, 5 years, 7 years. They just, whatever's easier and or has been easier, or if it's not broke, don't fix it. But now it's time to find things that maybe need maintenance, right? So, if you can, switch to, like with our clubs, I switched to doing all on-demand water heaters. So I didn't have hot water, 24 hours a day when no one was showering. That costs money, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and when you're talking about, 20 clubs, 40 clubs, 70 clubs, 20,000 square feet, have, 6 showers or 3 showers in each locker room and sinks and everything, and you have hot water prepared for people that aren't coming in. It
Right.
costs money. You save X number of dollars every day. It turns into weeks, turns into years, turns into money, you know? So there's those opportunities to review. And like I said, a good broker will tell you those things. And, even though I'm doing this podcast, I'm not a broker. I mean, I do on my own behalf, and I'm happy to help anybody here that wants to
Thank you.
discuss, talking about it. They're welcome to contact me through the network, through the group. I'm a member. I'm
Yeah.
happy to help. And, I could help, shepherd them through their unique situation. Uh, so it's
Awesome.
all of those things. Yeah, all of those
Yeah.
things. I wish I
Yeah.
had that article.
No, you're okay. You're okay. I think it's better when you speak your mind as of how you think about this today. Uh, yeah, you talked about reviewing the business, the website. Yeah, we kind of touched on this in SEO. Like, check out. It's almost like doing reputational review, right? What do you look like on Glassdoor, on Yelp, these different places?
Right.
See if you can improve on that, right? To it, because you're like you
Because you're
say,
required.
they're going to do it. They're going to
They're
do it.
going to do
Yeah.
that. They're going to do it
This
because
is
they're fearful. These people
yes,
are afraid. They want to
that is
do it,
right.
but they're
Yeah.
motivated. They're scared. They're motivated. They're scared.
Right.
You want to keep relieving them of their fear. And
Yeah.
the more you could do that, the more money you could get for your business. Nothing goes without risk or reward. Like that whole water balloon analogy plays throughout the whole thing. So if you can take their fear away from buying your business, you get more money for it. So if they're high fear, there's, less money. Low fear, more money. And that's how it goes. And we're all in business to make money, right? That's it. I mean, everybody's got, expenses, everybody's got lifestyle, everybody's got things to have to pay for. So, try to alleviate their fears. That'll add
Yeah.
value.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the mindset with this article because it was very much like you need to face facts now. Like if you're going to sell this business or, in the short or medium term, you need to just face all the weaknesses, understand all of those so that you can address them and get the best outcome for all parties. We talked about website already. And yeah, you actually started off talking about the importance of talking to third parties um, ahead of this, so you know exactly what you're getting into. All the kind of like the details there that you need to address. With you mentioned any financing, landlords, franchisors, all that kind of stuff. Oh yeah, that's the question I had. Is you mentioned how if you were to sell it to a trainer, it might not be necessary to have those conversations. Um, is that so? Because I don't know. Part of me wish
Or
you were saying that.
transition, because what would happen
Yeah.
you stay the owner and they basically are buying in, right? So
So the entity
they,
is staying this. Yeah, I get it. Okay. Yeah.
so that stays the same. You have to, uh, that's a structure issue, right? And that's a transitional issue, right? They come in, you go out. They take more responsibility, you do less. They pay you money, and it's a transition. It's a transfer over the course of time.
Mm.
And maybe that time, depending on how you need the money, is depending on how much time that can take, and who you have to address that. And maybe you start the conversations with the landlord. I'm taking in a partner. The
Right.
structures,
Yeah.
like, you never know. And it's going to depend. And that landlord, and your landlord, right? Like, there's different types of people. Like, you've got I had a horrible, horrible landlord once. Uh, Yeah, and if we had even a question about our lease, we had to sign in, send the question, send a $500 check, because he's gonna have to review it with his lawyer. And that there's a certain type of landlord out there that is like that. You'll mostly find them in New York, but um,
Okay.
but they exist elsewhere. And and they're difficult, and they're gonna be difficult because they're just looking to, squeeze every penny out of everything. And I would recommend people to skip doing business with them if they can, right? There's other
Okay.
locations, you know, but sometimes, you think it's going to be different for you. And I can tell you right now, it's not. you know, People are who they are, and you're not going to change them because you're a super nice guy, or you're a really nice person. They don't care,
Sure.
so, you know,
Understood. Um, what about, let's talk about buyer needs. What we got any tips on identifying, what the buyer's criteria is, like maybe the types of questions you might ask? Any thoughts?
well, you ask them, what is it that you're looking for? Why are you interested in my business? Oh, I love fitness. Oh, I live in town. Oh, it's for my son. Like, you'll find out. And then, that's those are gonna have different implications themselves, right? It's nice that the guy is local. His daughter really, he's perfect scenario. The guy is local. He's a client. He's well heeled. He's got a daughter that loves this, that wants to do it. He's looking at this acquisition because it's his daughter's security, and maybe it'll be the launching pad of another one or two locations, in the area. That's the perfect acquirer. He's an established business person. He knows the value of what he's doing, and he's willing to pay for it.
Yeah,
Ultimate buyer.
got it. Okay. Okay, that sounds pretty straightforward. Yeah, just I guess really making the effort to understand their needs deeply and what's
Yeah.
really
And
motivating.
that's what's nice about, you know, I've been to these strength conferences, right? Like, the guys are great. Guys are great trainers. They're great technicians. Charisma is lacking, right? They're not used to making these deals. They don't know what questions to ask. They don't know. They don't have the time. They're very focused on what they do. So that's why it's kind of a valuable situation to have someone that is in a broker
Right.
relation consulting relationship to help them, get
Yep.
through this kind of stuff, because it's just not their uh, what do they call them? Personality archetype, right? Like, it's not their code.
Sure.
They're, INFP instead of ENTJ, right? You don't,
What are
you
you, by
gotta,
the way, Mike?
oh, I'm the most difficult one, quite honestly. I don't know what it
No.
is. It's the it, it's just a little different than what people think it is, but when you read it, it's hilarious. It makes me
Okay.
seem like a real prick, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But it's funny. I'll send it when I find it. I'll send it to you. Um,
Please do.
I think I'm a lot more easygoing than I really am, right? Like it's like that. Maybe this is, uh, we're not adversaries right now, right? So it's a different version of my personality that you see here, right? We're not adversaries. I'm trying to, I want to help. I'm trying to help. So this is a different version of, uh, my personality profile that you would
Right.
see was under stress, right? When someone is stressed or agitated or whatever, you see a different version of them. So, I can't remember what it is. It was surprising because I always thought I was one thing, and then when I saw it was something else, and then my wife's like, "That's who you are."
Fair
I
enough.
know,
Yeah.
no, that's something. But
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
uh,
need to do it actually. I've never actually done the two. Is it Myers-Briggs that gives you that?
Myers Briggs, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. I've never done it. I don't think I have anyway. Uh,
Interesting.
okay.
I recommend it to everybody, and they have a free thing on their website, Myers Briggs.
I should
Uh,
do that.
yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. I've done a Colby. Is it Colby Strength Finder? One of those. I can't even remember the results now, but I did that a while back. Okay. And then we talked about identifying, but again, working with a broker and expert who's going to help with this. So that's recommended, as you've stated many times during this podcast. But ways to identify potential buyers. One of the obvious ones we've mentioned is, if you have a high intensity training business, then join our communities. There's a link to the free community below. Great way to start building that network. And obviously, it's a group of people that understand your business and might be interested potentially. For when you do, even if you're not looking right now, I think we should all be building to sell because it just increases the value, right? So for any eventuality,
And it
yeah,
increases the ease of operation, right? Like
right,
if you have standard operating procedures, like you're not winging, right? All right, like you don't wait for something to break before you maintain it, right? Like, you've got to loop the guide rods every 6 weeks. You've got to, look, the upholstery needs to be done. Lights need to be switched out, like just all different maintenance things that nothing is a surprise. So that adds peace, right? If you could bring your own mind peace in your operation, because you've already done it, you've already accommodated that projection, and you can operate better. You can focus on your, getting out to your BNI meetings twice a week or whatever it is you're doing
absolutely.
to help, like, boy, like clear your mind, clear your mind, clear your mind. You don't want to always have to be putting out fires, right? And I'll tell this to everybody, right? If your business isn't growing, it's dying. You just don't know it. You don't
Well, on
feel it.
that, elaborate on that a little bit. Can you elaborate on that?
Oh,
Inflation. Yeah,
the interest in this industry is growing, and it's growing bigger than most of the operators realize. So you should be doing bigger numbers than you realize. You should be having more leads than you think. Like, if you've got the same leads this month as you have, 12 months ago or 15 months ago, you're probably 25 to 40% off of what the market really is, right? Because these people are hearing all about resistance training everywhere they turn, by, um, reputable people that are doing podcasts, that are doing, that are involved in health and wellness. And so the interest level is higher, this month than it was 12 months ago, definitely more than it was 18 months ago. So if you're saying, I still want those same 30 leads every month, and I'll convert 80% of them or whatever, and you factor in your attrition because people move, get injured, whatever it is, it should be higher. People should know. And actually, that was probably the secret to our success in the gym business, is I was able to do feasibility studies. So we didn't have, like, I would walk in when we walked in to acquire a group of clubs once, and the guy's like, yeah, we sell 400 memberships a month. And we've been doing that for 5 years. And if you look at the amount of people that move into that market every month, their 400 members a month just showed that they suck, because there was an opportunity to sign up 1,500 people a month between their 4 or 5 clubs. And they're only doing this. So I had to, tell the guy, hey, listen, you're a loser because you should be doing this and you're not. And I'm not going to tell you how to do it because we want to buy. So I'm not going to, add value to my target. I know what I'm going to do when we get in here, but you're doing this and you've been doing this for years and you think that's great. That's not great. That sucks. But you don't know it. They don't know it because they don't do a feasibility study. They don't know how many new movers are coming into their market, into their trade area. They don't even know where their trade area is because they never did a pin dot map to know where their members are coming from. So people think in a radius, but a radius is ridiculous. It looks like a Chinese star
I
because
remember you saying.
like, where are people coming from? And these guys, they don't know, but I know, right? So information is power, right? So your acquirer or potential acquirer, if he's me, is looking at your business way differently than you look at your business. So, there's that, right? Because, people when they leave their neighborhood, they want to make a right. They don't want to make a left and go across traffic. So you're here. How many right turns are getting people there? And those are your pockets. So that's where you advertise to. It's not radius because that's not your actual trade area. Your trade area is where the traffic comes from. And
Right.
that's where you spend your money. And that's how we did it. That's how I do it. I don't say we, it's we because I did it and my staff followed directions. And that's, that's something you got to do for yourself. And depending on what software company, I would recommend everybody to do that today. Call whoever manages your member and tell them you want a pin dot map. And they'll show you where your traffic is coming from. And now where you should spend your money advertising or marketing or Facebook grouping or BNIing or whatever it is that you do. That's the market you should be doing it in because those are where your people come from. So don't waste your time here. Waste your time here.
Yeah, I this is a great marketing tip actually. Where when you say contact them to give you that, who are you talking about? Like if they work with an agency, are you
Well,
referring
no,
to?
no, no. Say your software is Mind Body.
Sure. Yeah.
You call Mind Body, tell them I want a pin dot map of where
Yeah.
my members are, or
Yeah.
Arteta, or whoever your membership uh, group is. Call them and tell them, this is what you want. And if you don't use a member management system, which a lot of people don't have to with, 200 people, whatever it is,
Sure.
do it yourself, plot it out, get their addresses,
Yeah.
your map and,
Or just get
spend it.
all your current clients and just basically
Yeah.
figure out where they're all like, yeah, and then that's and you've shared this to me before. It's a great point. Thanks for sharing that again. So just aware of time here, Mike. Thank you so much for making
My
the
pleasure.
time. This has been so useful. And I will again mention that great article you wrote, which just mentions of what we spoke about today, but elaborates more in other areas. And that's called Exit Stage Right. And it will be linked in the description to this and on the show notes over on the blog. And obviously in our community as well. Best way for people to contact you, Mike?
Through here, I'm a member here. So reach out through here. I'll give you my cell phone number. They can call, but let's, start it with this.
Yep.
And, because a lot of the questions, like post them, don't be shy. Like everybody's suffering the same things. It's unfortunate, but that's the problem. People think like that their problems are just their problems. They're everybody's
No,
problem.
absolutely. Yeah.
So post it. It helps. The authenticity, the genuineness. People will help you. There's good people that want to help, that like to help. That it feeds them. I
Oh
even
yeah.
I told you like I look at all the stuff that Luke does with you guys. Like that's admirable, right? Like there's there's a lot of things, people in this genre want to help each other, and it helps everybody, and, rising tide lifts all ships. So
Yeah.
I am happy to assist in just about any way. Like I said, we've got my finance company. I finance the equipment. Sometimes we could refinance equipment if you want to open up a second store. Like, no matter what stage you're at, there's help, right? You've got one store, you want to open up another store. It's not as difficult as the first store by any means. The
Yeah.
second store is not as difficult as the first store. And the 10th store, that's the simplest. That's just once it starts rolling. Once you did the first one, you suffered already. Like, now's the time to benefit by the initial suffering. Your first place is your most expensive place. That's what costs you the most. So in all ways. So,
Yeah.
find a way, replicate it, and all the help that you need is here. It's, you know, Lawrence, you've got, all the data, all the help, all the resources. There's money out there to help start putting it together.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, no, thanks for being so generous yourself. And yeah, I mean, it's amazing actually how generous, you mentioned Luke, many of the members are so generous in giving. Couple people have been doing it for years inside my community. Just any question, even the most nuanced things about like, operating Medex or maintaining Medex or
Yeah.
anything that's related to our space. Yeah, so just on that, there'll be a link below. I mentioned it already, to join our free community. So that's High Intensity Business on School. There'll be a link below to join that. And then if you're interested, there'll be links to book a call with myself if you're interested in the HIB Pro, which is the paid community. But it's effectively a place where it's all people just like you, right? Strength training business owners who want to help one another. And then there's courses, resources, really useful stuff to help you grow the business. Mike, thanks again. And
Okay.
really appreciate you making the time. Enjoy the rest of your day. This is Lawrence with High Intensity Business, and we'll talk to you very soon.